Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This right here is exactly how it's done. No more entitlement. The establishment GOP thinks that they could just run over the will of the voters using their deep state Washington influence, but no more can this be allowed to continue. It seems as though it ends today. 2 election season failures back to back. With such a recent track record, you don't get to just keep your job and steamroll over people's concerns and issues. That shouldn't be the way that it works. There has to be some level of accountability, and this right here is exactly what it looks like. As I'm recording this video, the House of Representatives is voting the second time for a Speaker of the House. Of course, the GOP establishment thought that they could just ram through Kevin McCarthy yet again, but not so fast. The integrity vote has showed up, at least for now, as Matt Gaetz and crew show up and vote for Jim Jordan, blocking Kevin McCarthy from that speakership role. There's a lot of hysteria and fake news surrounding this topic, folks. This is a good thing across the board. It serves the interest of the American people, more specifically GOP voters, whose concerns have been ignored for far too long by their elected representatives. The establishment GOP's days are numbered, as finally the neocons are held to account. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on, and of course, let's talk about it and the implications. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so as I'm recording this video, here's the vote. 201 votes for Kevin McCarthy, 213 votes for Hakeem Jeffries, and 19 votes for Jim Jordan. And now this effectively blocks Kevin McCarthy. Republicans picked up a slim majority in the House. And of course, in order to win speakership of the House, you need to win a majority of the House vote, meaning Kevin McCarthy can only shed 4 Republican votes if he is to win the speakership. Well, he's not even close. 19 Republicans are defecting. I mean, that seems to be the word that people are using to describe this, but I really wouldn't call it defecting. I would rather call it representing. They're representing the will of their voter base. People do not want Kevin McCarthy. Now, of course, there's some rhino faction, which does exist, and there's probably a group of people who just want to get it over with, just elect Kevin McCarthy and call it a day. It is what it is. But when it comes to elected representatives, you don't settle. There has to be a rigorous process. Kevin McCarthy's time is up, clearly. The Freedom Caucus is not behind him. GOP voters want change. They want more hawkish leadership that's going to actually stand up and do the right thing. And that's why we're seeing these votes for Jim Jordan, because at least he has a semi-decent track record when it comes to bringing light to serious concerns of corruption and especially issues of online censorship. When's the last time you heard Kevin McCarthy say anything? The guy seems to operate like a ghost behind the scenes. He's the most slimy of slimy politicians, speaking only in empty platitudes. All the updates that we get of Kevin McCarthy's plan once Republicans take control of the House never really seem to come out of his mouth. It's just reports that the Republican House plans to do this and that, but voters simply don't trust him. They don't trust him to hold big tech accountable. They don't trust him to lead a thorough investigation into the Bidens. They don't trust him to launch serious accountability projects. And if that's the case, then he cannot be leader. I mean, clearly he can't be leader because he doesn't have the votes. Now the question is, what's going to happen? Matt Gaetz has gone as far to say that he'd be more willing to vote for Hakeem Jeffries than Kevin McCarthy. What's the likelihood of that happening? Not exactly sure, but until you get Matt Gaetz and the rest of the Freedom Caucus on board, Kevin McCarthy just simply cannot win. In a way, they have all the leverage. If they stand firm in their refusal to vote for Kevin McCarthy, the voting process is going to repeat endlessly. One of these sides is going to fold. Either the Freedom Caucus is going to cave in and agree to negotiate with Kevin McCarthy, probably getting something in return and then voting for him, or Kevin McCarthy's support is going to dwindle and votes are going to start shifting towards Jim Jordan. And I really hope that that ends up happening, because I don't know about you guys, but I am firmly on the side of Matt Gaetz. He makes a very compelling case.
Those of us who will not be voting for Kevin McCarthy today take no joy in this discomfort that this moment has brought. But if you want to drain the swamp, you cannot put the biggest alligator in charge of the exercise. We offered Kevin McCarthy terms last evening that he rejected. We sought a vote in the first quarter of the 118th Congress on term limits. He refused. We wanted a budget from the Republican Study Committee that balances on the floor in the first quarter. He refused. We wanted the border plan that the Texas delegation put together on the floor. He refused. And it is true that we struggle with trust with Mr. McCarthy because time and again his viewpoints, his positions, they shift like sands underneath you. And all we got was a handful of howdy and a mouthful of much obliged. So we do not want to be here at this moment. We would prefer to have a unity of purpose, but we will not continue to allow the uniparty to run this town without a fight. We want to change because this town is broken, and this is a person who has acknowledged in Mr. McCarthy that the town is broken, and he has been a part of that process for many years as a member of the leadership.
None of what you heard in there from McCarthy was enough to get your support.
Everything I heard hardened my resolve that this town desperately needs change, and if it's a few of us who have to stand in the breach to force it, we are willing to do so for as long as it takes.
Kevin McCarthy is weak on the issue of securing the border, and he's apparently weak on reining in the issue of this out-of-control government expansion and spending. He is not a conservative. He's a deep state Washington goon who's merely playing a power game. He's not serious about important issues to Republican voters. And very simply, that means that he cannot and he is not qualified to lead the GOP in the House. Matt Gaetz says that he is willing to stay there as long as it takes, and I hope that that's the case. This is the first time we see this happen since 1923, 100 years ago. And to be real with you, it should probably happen more often. It's about damn time that these deep state leaders, these establishment uniparty goons, face some real challenge. You know, the Progressive Democrat caucus talked a big game when it came to challenging Nancy Pelosi for speakership, but they were weak and they gave in and ended up enabling Nancy Pelosi. This right here is what Republican voters have been hoping for. Some reform, some challenge to the GOP status quo that has not been delivering results to the American people. This Republican establishment that continues to cave in and capitulate to the destructive Democrat agenda. No more. Their stranglehold on the party must end. And you could tell that they're absolutely panicked over the idea of that. Ronna McDaniel showing up on Fox News, suffering a small meltdown as Kevin McCarthy gets blocked 2 times in a row.
Pelosi and Schumer were always on the same page. And until Republicans start to function like that, can you ever expect to effectively govern?
No, I think we have to start working together. I mean, I look at states like Arizona right now. I mean, look at Arizona. The top vote getter in the whole state was a Republican. She got 1,375,000 votes. And the other Republicans that were running in that state, you know who didn't vote for them? Republicans. So if we're so hateful towards each other that other Republicans won't vote for us, then we're doing exactly what the Democrats want, right? And so this scorched earth, I'm going to take on every other Republican instead of focusing on who voters want us to focus on, which is the Democrats. Remember, the Democrats who are leaving our border open. They're the ones who kept our kids out of school. They're the ones who have allowed crime to run rampant in our streets. That is the Democrat Party. So as long as we're fighting each other, we are not keeping our eye on the prize. And I think we have to get the speakership settled, and we have to go forward if we're going to be successful in 2024 as a united party. And right now, this exemplifies exactly what the Democrats want to see from our party.
If anything, Ronna Romney McDaniel gives us more evidence as to why this is a good thing, as to why this GOP establishment needs to be challenged. How utterly dishonest was that McDaniel statement? We need to come together, division, blah, blah, blah. Again, a bunch of empty platitudes. Immediately goes on to attack Arizona Republicans. Party is divided, she says. Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe it has something to do with the RNC attacking and slandering preferred Republican candidates like Kari Lake, creating this divisive dichotomy within the party, spending millions of dollars attacking America First candidates, teaming up with Democrat organizations to do so. These desperate GOP goons clinging on to power, attacking the will of their own voters, have the audacity to claim that we need to come together to elect Kevin McCarthy. Give me a friggin' break. This is exactly why people are standing against Kevin McCarthy. This is exactly why people are so frustrated with this weak GOP that does not serve the interest of the people. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say it again. Hillary Clinton worked with foreign spies and rogue actors at the FBI to unseat the President of the United States. You people did nothing and continue to do nothing when it comes to fighting for accountability and transparency, holding corrupt actors accountable. You work behind the scenes to protect the Bidens, to attack Donald Trump. You refuse to stand up for constitutional rights. You refuse refuse to launch substantive investigations and hold people accountable at social media platforms, running a conservative censorship racket, you refuse to have open dialogue when it comes to the issue of election security, and you wonder why the party is divided. You wonder why people feel as though you don't represent them, but rather you represent a corrupt Washington establishment class. Now I'm releasing this video tomorrow, so a lot can change, of course, but I hope the Freedom Caucus does not give in, and they continue to stand, creating a colossal barrier, a border wall, so to speak, ahead of Kevin McCarthy, Ronna McDaniel, and Mitch McConnell, because enough is enough. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like usual, of course, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.